page 9 of my shadow work series. So I guess to recap and put everything all together, you start with ego, and then you lose the ego, and then you lose the fake self that your ego identifies with, and then you realize the true self, the authentic self, the self of unconditional love, which I think is what we all are at our core. It's just that we kind of forgot. And then we gain shadows with different judgments and all kinds of judgments and culture and fear and experiences and things like that. I realized that I think for most people that the worse the problem is, the less likely they are to take self-love seriously. And in the sense that they don't really realize that a lot of their problems is because of lack of self-love. And it's the highest, probably the highest teachings, self-love, unconditional love. Thing is that the ego doesn't really want to accept that. The ego doesn't really want to admit things. It doesn't want to see the gratitude and everything. It just kind of wants to be a victim and things like that. And you kind of have to be willing to get out of your own mind and actually pay attention to the different possibilities that are actually based on your perception. It's just that we don't really get taught to perceive things with gratitude, especially with all this duality and other things, mostly duality. But ego puts you in low consciousness, and so you're attracting things in lower consciousness, aka lower frequency, lower vibration, same thing. And really that's just depending on your amount of unconditional love and your own self-love. And that's why things keep on repeating until you can figure out how to raise vibrationally, consciously. I'm kind of thinking right now. There is light there, but the ego doesn't want to see it. I don't really, well, I guess I know why, because I guess it's the fear and rather that people will rather stick with something they're familiar with, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's the very thing that is, ruining their life. But that's the ego for you. Trying to figure out what to say next. I had ideas, but I can't remember them. Anyway, when you finally learn to not judge, you finally learn to be grateful. And then when you learn to be grateful, you learn to be happy. And then when you learn to be grateful, you kind of move on from judgmental thoughts and perceptions, and so your thoughts become more grateful, and then before you know it, you're facilitating good, positive thoughts about things. And it's a lot harder to be unhappy. it's windy right now. It's so windy. And that's just something that I've observed, is that it gets easier, and like, it's just easier. Oh yeah, I just remembered what I was going to say about the self. And see, the ego likes to kind of divide things, separate things, and so the ego, with that in mind, it's easy for things to judge things when you separate themselves from you. Because if you really realize that you are everything, and that everything is you, and that this outside world is really a reflection of the inside world, anything you're judging is really yourself. But you see, most people don't really know that. What you judge in others is what you judge in yourself. So when you really see how everything is one and everything is you, it makes things a lot harder to not love, in a sense. So the self is not just our physical form, it's everything. And I think that unconditional love and self-love is probably like a byproduct of the consciousness that we're in. Overall, you just become more comfortable with everything. And what I've noticed is that you gain a new type of motivation that is independent from judgment, but it's rather something that comes from your heart, with how you see yourself. And like I said, it's independent of judgment or insecurity or any kind of thing that could drive motivation that isn't something you feel in your heart, that is self-love and unconditional love. It's just that you're acting from that feeling of yourself, more than acting from ego thoughts and things like that. I don't know if I explained that right. But basically, your motivation starts coming from within, and it's peaceful. And then the more ego you lose, the more you find out who you are, who you really are. But it doesn't end, because there's always going to be new challenges and new things. And really, like I said before, when you're grateful for everything, nothing is really bad, and really kind of makes you invisible to being controlled by negative experiences and people and such, especially with the fact that you integrated that you are everything. And there really is no division, although it feels like there is sometimes, especially with the dualistic human cognition we all have, and that we all learn when we grow up. I think people don't really know how robust unconditional love is, because if being unconditional love is raising your consciousness, then the things you attract are abundance, because unconditional love is abundance. And so you're in the frequency of abundance when you're being unconditional love, and then you're attracting more of that good stuff. And then if there's anything bad, you don't really see it as bad, but instead you're just grateful, and then there really is no good and bad anymore. It's just there, and you just enjoy it, and you don't judge it on what it does for you or what it doesn't do, but just simply by its existence. Unconditional love is given just for existing. That's all I had to do, is just exist. and you could love it. Of course, there's always going to be different things that you're going to notice or find that you could give gratitude towards and unconditional love towards. There's different levels of gratitude. There's different levels of unconditional love. There's different experiences, and it can be exciting at times because really you're realizing a new aspect of yourself every time. There's a challenge or a situation or anything. It's all you. And that's quite beautiful. It doesn't really ever seem to end. It's infinite. Trying to remember some stuff. It's hard for me to remember. I'll start a video and then I'll forget what I was gonna say. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Maybe I'll think of something. So, if you are everything and everything is you, you are happening to yourself. And it's not things happening to you, it's you happening to you, and everything is one, and that you are one. I don't know, it's just a unity. It's a different thing. I don't know how to describe it. But it kind of makes life more interesting, I guess. So I think basically you're realizing the real self, and then you realize that self is unconditional love, self-love. It's just love. Yeah. I think that's the end of the video.